My name's Jeff Cook. I'm a reader here in the School of Construction Management and Engineering at the University of Reading, and I run the research group for inclusive environments. Over the years we've carried out several research projects, and the one that I want to mention today is a thing that's called Project Rainbow, which we did about 10 years ago. And it examined in some detail the way that visually impaired people moved around buildings, and in a more detailed sense than that, we put them into an experimental environment where we tried to assess how good they were at identifying different colours. And work of this nature is fairly complex. In particular, it's complex because it's rather difficult to accurately determine how visual impairment has affected individuals. So we were very fortunate to have the assistance of consultants from the Royal Berkshire Hospital to enable us to classify all of our test subjects, and there were 72 of these test subjects in all. So we knew quite a bit about the way they saw things. That enabled us to classify their visual abilities, because in terms of registration as being blind or partially sighted, these are defined by law because they're related to certain benefits. So our test subjects, although highly variable, we were able to classify quite well. And the detailed tests, the experimental tests, were arranged in such a way that we presented to these visually impaired people two colours that were either the same or different, and we asked them to say whether they were in fact the same or different, and how confident they were that they were either the same or different. Now that sounds a bit complicated, but it has enabled us to develop a data set of information across most of the colours. Of course there are lots of colours and we didn't do every single colour, but we did a large number, over 2,500 different colour combinations, that we have some confidence in saying for a range of people who are visually impaired, this is how different colours need to be in order for them to be very confident that they can see the difference. And this is important in a variety of ways. In particular, we shouldn't lose sight of the fact that there are probably around 2 million people in the UK who are either blind or partially sighted. And this is a significant number, and it's something that we need to address. Some are related to age, some are related to other things. The most popular, if you like, in terms of the cross-section of the population who are visually impaired, the condition which is probably the most prevalent is macular degeneration. And that's where the back of the eye becomes deficient in its visual capabilities. And that's important in a variety of ways, not least related to colour, because at the back of the eye is where most of the colour-sensitive cells of the eye are. So a loss of those means that people who have that macular degeneration condition find it difficult to identify colours. But it also means that when they look at something, the central part of their vision is not good, but their peripheral vision is quite good. So that's one condition. Almost the opposite of that is a condition called glaucoma, which has hereditary links. And that means the effect of that the peripheral vision starts to disappear, and people can still see detail and colour, but how much of it, what's called field of vision, starts to reduce. And this means that they are constantly scanning the visual scene to see where they are. Now, they do have some peripheral vision, and it's important therefore in buildings and so on that we realise that they are, although scanning, anything that we can do within their peripheral vision field to help them will be useful. So those are the two conditions. One, a central loss, essentially, the next one a peripheral loss, and then there are a range of conditions which produce something like a general loss. Now, one of those is a thing called Retinitis Pigmentosa. That's where the retina starts to break down, but in a random way, which means across the visual field there are points and patches within it where vision is deficient. So they may be able to identify a general visual scene, but need to look carefully to pick up detail. And those are just three conditions. One which has come to the fore certainly in the last 10 years since we completed the work, although was present in our tests, are the condition of diabetic retinopathy. Now, this is related to diet, but diabetic retinopathy again produces a more general field loss, and this is something too that we need to take into account. But I think from those 3-4 different conditions, you realise just how difficult it is in order to generally provide information that's going to be useful for all visually impaired people, because of course their conditions tend to be rather unique.